Cool. So this is part 2. Again, I'm unprofessional. I'm sorry. Everybody knows how the channel runs. It's not a serious channel, so we can just go back to where we were. Sorry. So what were you saying?
So NXT shows and stuff like that. But I've no missed wrestling because I've no really had time away for it. I've had time away for live shows, but I've not really stopped. There's been on-demand stuff to put up and YouTube content and all that stuff. So I've not really had the chance to miss it. One thing I really enjoy New Japan just now. I've maybe missed the last month or so. I've not been tuned right in, but when I was in Japan, I went to Wrestle Kingdom, and I'd always kind of watched bits and pieces of it. But then when we got into the pandemic, I just signed up for the network, the New Japan World, and started just watching the current stuff, back catalogue stuff, and that's been cool because it's something I wasn't really super tuned into years ago. So catching up on a lot of that stuff's been really cool. But kind of across the board, like there's a lot of good content just now, so that's been good. And I'm looking forward mostly to the thing I'm enjoying most is the anticipation for crowds. You can feel that with Rumble now, people getting excited for the kind of light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like you were saying before, obviously the technical issues is I love seeing Drew as well being like, because he's like from like half an hour from where I stay, and he's where he is. Like it's insane to think, and everybody always forgets that he doesn't always look the way he did. Like he was like the skinny guy and stuff like that, and then he got to where he is, which is insane. For me, I love how much wrestling there is. Like it's great for my channel because I can create content, get views and stuff like that. But just how much it is. New Japan's something that I fell away from a little bit. I don't know why. Like kind of just after that AJ Styles kind of time, I just fell away from it. But I've been getting back into it the past couple of months, and it's just fun. There's just so much to watch, but that's the problem with wrestling at the minute. You could literally just sit down. It's a good thing, obviously, but it's a problem as well because you can sit down and just put it on, and you'll be sitting there for days just watching it.
It's weird. So like sometimes when the world's normal, I rarely sit down and like watch Raw start to finish or SmackDown or whatever. Your kind of system was always like on a Tuesday in the office when we would go into work, we would stick Raw on. So I got working, we'd catch up, and then on like a Wednesday we'd watch NWA Power. Thursday we'd watch NXT. So we always kind of caught it in work. It's only recently that I've been sitting watching an episode right through or something. But also when you're creating shows at the time and you're doing live shows, you know, just sitting watching wrestling all day at work and talking about wrestling. So it kind of got that way. Like the last thing I want to do is get in and watch wrestling. I mean, it's like I've seen too much yet. But no, it's been good to know to kind of refresh on what's going on and who's good and who's no. And also the indie stuff in America, because obviously certain places have got more kind of relaxed setups. There's been shows, so you can catch bits and pieces and stuff like that. So I mean, there's so much to know, and it is impossible to watch everything. So if anybody's watching ICW in the new, then awesome, because obviously there is a lot of competition now. So anybody telling us they're watching it's always brilliant and greatly appreciated.
I mean, I always tell people to watch it, like the guys I've had on, I share their content because I like promoting stuff in Scotland because it's obviously where I'm from, but it's such a good show. And then, like you say, it's just cool to watch something that I kind of was seeing how, I don't want to say terrible because it wasn't terrible, but like how like nothing, no funding, no money or nothing wrestling used to have. It was in like Bells Hill sports kind of complex, and it was like the wrestlers would go up and eat just at the wee bit up there, and you could just go and talk to them. And then now it's like this pure cool, like in cool places and that. Mm-hmm. It's so cool to see how far it's came. And then like I was always like, everybody needs to watch this. I'm like pure invested in it. I'm like, you need to promote Scottish wrestling because it's came so far. Can you go back to the old dark days that we used to have, like in 2000, 2005 kind of era? But like you say, there's sometimes like even doing this channel at night time, the last thing I want to do is sit and watch like wrestling because I'm reviewing it, and then when I watch it just for like enjoyable purposes, I'm like, can I really enjoy this? Because I'm sitting reviewing it, which is a bit of a pain to try and take that hat off.
Yeah, totally.
So man, where do you see yourself going like in the next 10 years in wrestling? Do you still see yourself working at ICW? Would you like to move up to maybe like WWE, somewhere different? Or do you think you're just going to be ICW ship and ride it till it?
I mean, I would obviously ICW is my full-time job. It's literally my living. So ICW for another 10 years, absolutely. I mean, if ICW was for another 20 years, absolutely. Like ICW, anything I get from wrestling in any way, shape, or form has been through ICW.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as that exists, I will be there. That being said, I would love to go to NXT UK. It's an option that for wrestlers was never really there before, and anybody backstage. And now it's on our doorstep, it's right there. So I would love to get a chance to go to NXT UK and try stuff there and kind of learn as well. Like at the end of the day, there's no school for learning to book. You learn to book on the job, and I've learned a lot at ISW, but I mean it'd be great to go learn some stuff at WWE. It's been a book for 50 odd years, but I mean whether that happens, I don't know, but I mean if ISW, as long as ISW exists, I don't see there being any situation where I would leave. It's so important to me. It's given me the last. I mean, I first went to ISW when I was 21, maybe 30 now, and it's been my life for nearly 10 years. I went in one form or another, and there's a lot of emotional investment in ISW. Sleepless nights and heartaches and highs and lows and all that stuff, and that's not something you can just turn away from with the time you put into it. Literally, some of the best times in my life, some of the worst times in my life had the letters ICW emblazoned on the side of them. So it literally falls apart. But I don't see that happening anytime soon.
100%, man. I think it's so cool, like being so invested in something. Like if I've got my own business, and it's like all I'm invested in. It's like I'm 100% into that. Like you says, it's been like my worst moments in my life and my best moments. I'm up 20 hours a night, or I've got like a 4-hour working day. It's just so varied. Like it's such a people don't get it unless they do it.
Yeah, 100%. There's no way you can physically understand that schedule and that work in your life. And at first wee while, it's brutal. You don't know if you can physically do it, but then it comes to pass and you work it all out. It'll always work itself out somehow. So whether it means you don't sleep for 3 days or not, like, cool, you work it out.
I remember the first year I had my own business, it was like 20 hours a day. Like it was just relentless. It was like there was like barely any sleep, 4 hours of sleep here or there. Like it was barely anything. And then like now I can get more sleep, I can do more stuff because it runs itself a wee bit more. I know it never really runs itself because I do 10 hours at it just now, but that's running itself compared to the 20.
Yeah. For us, I mean, it was like the first Hydro show, like there was it the Tuesday to the Wednesday, I didn't sleep because there was so. I mean, I literally woke up on Tuesday morning, worked right through into Wednesday, and there was a there's a photo of me somewhere. Where I took like 5 minutes. I was like, right, just give me 5 minutes and I'll go back to it. And I went in to talk to my dog, and my dog was sitting on my mum's bed. So I was like, how are you doing? And I sat down next to him, and I just crashed it for like 3 years. I don't even remember doing it. I just went out. But that first Idol show was like, you had to give every single second of your time to that show. Fast forward a year, they're still busy. They're doing the same show, but it wasn't as busy. It was weird. It was like you realise that all the hours you put into it, you probably could have saved 3 years somewhere. You know what I mean? You didn't have to batter yourself into a hole just for this one show. But at the time, it was so big. You're just like, I need to focus on this every second of the day. That's like you say. Eventually, you kind of work it out, and you learn to run with it and learn to credit your own life a wee bit sometimes, and step back and go, I'm going to play the PlayStation for half an hour. Keep peace.
100%, man. You learn how to like manage your kind of term. Like you lessen the time because the first year I'm like, why did I do that? Like that was just insane amounts of hours. And then it's like now I'm like today I only had like 2 hours of work, so I get up at 4 a.m. every day, 3 a.m. just depending, and I had like 2 hours and that was me done. That's how I DM'd. She was like, oh, I'm finished for the day. That's me being literally done. But like back in the day, that would be me. It'd be like, cool, 20 hours. I'm not taking no lunch breaks or nothing. This is it. And you're like, you don't need to do that. You can literally just roll with it. So coming up to the end of the podcast is 3 questions we always ask. One is, I don't send you this one because I like to hear people like try and describe it. The other 2 I've already sent you. So who's your favourite wrestler of all time?
The Undertaker. Without fail, it's The Undertaker. And it's weird though because I've probably seen more Mick Foley matches than I've seen The Undertaker. But I think across the board, he's the greatest there's ever been. He's 25 years later, 30 years later, a gong hits and he gets the same reaction. He's never had a bad reaction. Like when we do, and this is not in the scale of WWE, but when we do shows, every city's different. Liverpool reacts brilliantly to this, but Leeds doesn't. Leeds reacts brilliantly to this, but Manchester doesn't. The Undertaker goes anywhere in the world and he gets that reaction without fail. And that's so rare. Plus, I think just everything he ever done just captivated me. Like, as I got more into wrestling, the Ministry of Darkness is my favourite thing there's ever been in wrestling. It only was there for like a year, if that, but it was my favourite thing I've ever. To this day, it was so outlandish, and he just looked like the devil himself, and his big throne, and everything about it. And then when I went to WrestleMania, it was when him and Roman Reigns, the main event. But they hadn't announced what the main event was. So I was at the show, and of course every year there was this is the year he's retiring. So we go to the show, and all day, Lionheart was with me, and he kept going, you know if he's on last, he's going to retire. And I'm going, don't. I can't handle this emotion if I watched The Undertaker retire, and I didn't even know what was going to happen. So we get to the show, and I'm sitting with him the whole night, and he just keeps going, no, show's ticking on, he's no one yet. And I'm going, don't, mate, don't. And I think it was, we done Brock versus Goldberg, and then there was 2 matches left. It was like the 6-way for the women's SmackDown title, and Roman and Taker. And I was like, right, he's on last. that's what's happening. So for like 30 minutes, Adrian just stared at me like, you gonna cry? And I'm like, mate, don't. And then they had the match, and he took the hat off, and he laid it in the ring, and I was just lost it. I was just like, no, don't do this to me, this is horrible. And I mean, it was incredible. It was an amazing feeling. Obviously, he came back like a year later, but it was an amazing feeling being in the building for that. And in hindsight, I would have hated to not been there for that. That would have been incredible. Because I'd never seen him wrestle. That was the first time I ever saw him wrestle. But at the time, it was a mad electricity in the air about it. And I don't think anybody's ever got that with their retirement. When people retire, it's like, okay, they're done. And it's sad and all that, but it was this thing that people held on to for so long because of who he is. They never wanted to see that guy retire. So when it happened, it was sad. And I think that speaks to what I mean with him being the greatest of all time. He got a full show building his farewell because he's the Undertaker. So then there's like I say, Mick Foley, Bonita, Jushin Thunder Liger, who also saw his retirement match as well, which is brilliant. So there are a few like kind of legends, but the Undertaker's the one.
I think for me it was Sting, because I remember him being the first. Well, in WCW, I remember seeing Sting, who's the first guy I was like, I need to watch wrestling because of him. But Taker is up there as well. You've got Bret Hart, Austin, stuff like that. But right now I'm doing like live streams and stuff like that. And when Taker's entrance hit, I'm like, I'm just going, I need to record for this, because it's like sometimes it's like 8 minutes long. Like especially the WrestleMania stage, I was doing like WrestleMania 25 I recorded today. It's like a watch along for the match. I was like, oh my god, this is so long. And I was like, at that point when I'm like, can I just record this? Or like, wait, what will I talk about? It was like 2 minutes into it, and I'm like, I'm just going to need to fast forward. I've got nothing else to say.
25 is so long, but it was so cool. But like, you get Shawn Michaels doing his one for the podium, then he makes his entrance, then you get Taker, he makes his big entrance, and then you get the stare down, and it's like, I mean, I've had phone calls start at that intro and finish. The phone call's done, and they're still entering. But like, it's the Undertaker. If he walked to the ring in 2.5 minutes, I'd be raging. I'm like, hold on, you've no built this up enough anywhere near enough. You know what I mean? Like, take your time. No 12 minutes for all I care. Just walk, do that, let that tune play forever.
If it was like you said, it was like 2 minutes, you'd be like, why go back up to the tap and do that again? Because you've just ripped to it. You need to get the slow walk in. But like I said, I was trying to record, and I was like, you know what, I want to try and keep this about half an hour, because I took it to like 45 minutes or something. It's that long. So the other question is, what's your favourite event of all time? What's an event you'd be like, this is one you need to check out?
Yeah, I mean, Mania 17 is like the best wrestling show ever. And there's people who argue that point, right? But if you ask the general punter what that general wrestling fan that question, WrestleMania 17 at least comes to their mind because it was perfect. It had everything. Obviously, Rock Austin, Taker Triple H, it had like Test versus Eddie Guerrero, and that is brilliant. It's just a top to bottom. It covers all the bases of a show. It gives you the gimmick battle royal, which is a lot of fun. The China coming back to win the women's title in like 3 minutes or whatever it was. The hardcore match where they throw Raven through a window, like it just had everything. Obviously, the Austin heel turn is like this kind of sour note on it, but even then, it's so iconic that you kind of now watch it and accept it. So there's that. I watched Mania 14 the other night. Mania 14 is really, really good. Again, top to bottom, a lot of fun. Rumble 2000, it's so short because it's a Rumble show, so there's like 4 matches in the main. But obviously, there's the Cactus Jack Triple H match, the street fight, which is my favourite match, probably of all time. But then there's like a tables match with the Dudleys and the Hardys, which is so brutal, it's unbelievable. It's look at like 8 minutes, and they just beat everything under the sun, just flying into tables to the outside. It's bonkers. And then the Rumble itself is brilliant. It's so many cool wee moments, like, and I love Rumbles. I hate writing them. I mean, I like watching them when they've been written, like when they're done, and I go, that was a cool Rumble, but putting a Rumble together is horrible. But watching it, I love watching the Royal Rumble every year. Brilliant. But even then, there's like the Japanese shows I really love. There's ECW shows I really love. Like the first ECW pay-per-view, Belly Eagle. It's rough around the edges, but brilliant. And Terry Funk winning the belt is up there as like one of the coolest moments.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to probably get a different answer, but I think across the board, Mania 17 is the kind of best of all time.
Man, that 2002 period was just such a cool, like 2001, 2002 was such a cool kind of period in wrestling. But talking about Royal Rumble 2000 and No Way Out 2000, because they kind of lead on to each other. I remember getting the WWF magazine back then, and they used to have the pictures in it of like what happened at the show. So I didn't see the pay-per-view, and I remember going out and getting the magazine and studying these pictures. They only give you like 3 pictures, and I was like, this is insane. That you wait for the VHS and stuff like that, which is cool. So the question that everybody either hums and haws it or they've got the answer straight away. I don't know if I was going to change it for you because you're debuting. I'll ask the question and then we can either change it. So the question is, if you could add yourself to or replace anybody in any match, any point in history, what would it be? Mine's is normally I would replace Owen Hart against Bret Hart, SummerSlam 94 in that blue steel cage. As you can tell, like that kind of steel cage, that's my favourite match ever. But what would yours be? You can change it to what would have been something that you would like to have booked in wrestling. What would have been like a run you would have liked to have booked?
Oh man, I mean, like the match that never happened was Taker versus Sting. I mean, it's the match everybody wanted, and we'll never get it now. I mean, Sting in his 60s and 80s, I mean, he's still cool and he still looks like Sting, but if that match happened now, people would still tune in to see it, but it wouldn't be the same. So, like, I don't know. Mania 15 era Taker, maybe Mania 14 versus Sting, like 97 Starrcade. That Sting would have been incredible. Again, on the spot, there's probably like loads I would book. I would love to have seen. Sorry, like there's a Mick Foley match I'll probably pull out my head somewhere later on. I'll be sitting going, that. You know what I mean? Just generationally, there's just people that kind of missed each other. Like Shawn Michaels' Rock never happened, which is criminal, and nobody thinks about that, and then they hear it and they go, "My God, that match never happened." The Rock versus Shawn Michaels would have been phenomenal. Just to see that anywhere, you could have done that in a house show in Montreal somewhere, you know what I mean? And just it'd been amazing. That's a super hard one. There's matches in ICW that never happened. I would have loved to have seen all sorts, but you know these things happen. But in the world we live in, it's weird that you can now say never to these things. Like we've had WWE superstars on your show when they're signed to WWE. So, you know, is it unfeasible that another WWE superstar shows up to fight Jack Jester on an ICW show? No, really. So, fingers crossed that some of these weird things we've thought up over the years end up happening. But there's so many that you just. I'll be sitting the night now annoyed about this, thinking,
I should have said this one. I should have said. I've always had people that message me later and they're like, "Oh, I wish I said this one instead of this." Like, does it like can we do it again? Can we change it? And I'm like, no, it's set in place. Can't change it. So, no, but that for me, I would have liked to have seen Taker at that kind of 99 kind of period against Sting at 99. Now Sting kind of found Christianity and started talking again.
Yeah.
I think that would have been so cool having like the ministry kind of Taker like looking like the pure devil against like Sting kind of finding.
It'd be phenomenal. Aye. I mean, it's a story that writes itself. You don't really need to book that. It's like, this match is happening. I don't care why it's happening. I'll watch it. You know what I mean? There's certain things like that. You just put it on paper and you put it on a graphic and people just go, that'll be good. I don't care why it's happening. I'll watch it. Shane McMahon versus Undertaker. I remember when they announced that for Mania, right? And I couldn't get my head around why it was happening. I watched the segment. I watched Vince announce it, and I'm going, I don't know why this match is happening, but I know Shane's coming after that self. I know Taker's going to batter him for 25 minutes, so I'm going to watch that match. And sure enough, I love that match. I think it's brilliant. It's just certain things. Taker's thing would have just been the perfect storm of characters in every way. One that I think actually as well would have been phenomenal is Kane. I would love to have seen Kane versus Mankind on a big platform, like a Mania. Kane's a pretty. He's never really done any wrong. He's always been great. He's always been consistently good. I think Cactus Jack would have been cool, but the Mankind character fighting Kane on like a Mania and some big brutal match would have been phenomenal. Because he's brilliant. He's always been good. And one that could feasibly still happen, if all fans see, is Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar. They've done it before, but it was very short. I'd like to see that be a pure drag out, like brawl, a 30-minute, go out there and just set about each other for 30 minutes. That would be incredible. So, again, we live in a world where that can happen. So, who knows?
100%, man. I think anything with Shane McMahon in it as well, like you were saying, that Hell in a Cell, I was like, why are they doing this? This is going to be terrible. Shane McMahon's not going to. I was like, he's going to come off the top or something like that, but how are they going to do it? Because obviously, like, the steel cage, the Hell in a Cell is much bigger than what it used to be back in like the 90s. And then I seen it and I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is literally stole that Mania. And then obviously Shane McMahon's got his cage match at Mania this year. Mm-hmm. Everybody's kind of like, oh, it'll be shit. And I'm like, it's Shane McMahon. He's going to like go through that or something.
Shane's so consistent in that, like, he never really lets you down. His match might not be the most technically sound match, but it's like Vince. Vince has had all these matches, right? And none of them have ever been a pure catch-as-catch-can classic. But you remember them because they've always got moments. Shane versus Vince at Mania 17. Nobody will forget that match. They'll both be long gone, and you'll still remember that because it was amazing. Shane is one of the guys that he just the king of the ring with Kurt Angle. The guy like went through glass twice. How can you fault that guy? I mean, you can say what you want about whether you should be doing that in wrestling matches or not, but people remember that guy gone head first through two panes of glass. Shane is consistent, and he doesn't even have to be. He just wants to be. So nobody will ever say anything bad to Shane McMahon about me that I'll agree with, because he's brilliant.
100%. Like I don't even know. Like you just said, like there's no need for him to be like that. Like he's born into a billionaire. Like he's a son of a billionaire. He doesn't need to be good at wrestling, but he still does it. The one that was one of the VHSs I got for the Force Market was King of the Ring 99, which is Austin against McMahon and Shane in a ladder match. And it was just like Shane McMahon just got leathered the whole time, and it was brilliant. Everything he does is just so good. And it's like when you start talking about it, you're like, is Shane a really good wrestler? Could he be one of the great wrestlers? That makes no sense. Like he shouldn't be there, but he just kind of he's always in good matches. Like you said, the Angle match, the Vince match, and it's like it's so weird. Like he's a good wrestler and his Kane stuff in 2003 was
brilliant,
insane as well. The balls, the clippers. Clipper things to the balls.
I think that's probably where you can see my influences getting into ISW, because for me, there's great matches and there's great moments, and sometimes a great moment can outshine a great match a million times over. And like there's great wrestlers, and there's people who create great moments, and he's definitely a person who creates great moments. The Undertaker, to a degree, was probably a great moments guy. He never had the best bell-to-bell match, but you always remember him taking that dive over the top rope. You remember him choke slamming Kane in the Inferno match. You remember these screenshots. Austin never had, like when he was Stone Cold. I mean, like earlier on he did, but he had these matches that had these great moments. Be it the heel turn when he hit Rock, just moments can make a person's career. Like, so you can have the best match in the world, but if you don't have that snapshot thing that people remember, sometimes your match could get lost, which is a shame, but it's true.
No, 100% agree, man. I think that's what makes wrestling as well. It's that one moment you're trying to sell. Like, it's like a build to a moment. You sell that moment, which is sometimes the best thing, because you always you won't remember the whole match. Like, I know people. I like Bret Hart. He's a great wrestler. I remember the big moments, the Survivor Series moment. You remember moments putting on the sharpshooter with Austin and stuff like that. But if you were like him against Bob Backlund, which I hate Bob Backlund, but him against him, I do not remember a thing like from that match. I'm like, I don't really care. There's a couple of holds, I don't care. Yeah. But where can people find you, man? We'll finish up the podcast there.
So on Twitter, it's at Scott Reid ICW. It's easy. That's pretty much where I deal with anything really. So I always kind of keep my ICW life on there and kind of keep people up to date for taping and stuff like that. And and then there's also the ICW, obviously Twitter pages and stuff like that. I don't deal with them too much, but so I pretty much my Twitter page. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, man, I've got all the links in the description below if people want to check you. I would definitely get people to go check ICW. I promote them all the time because I like promoting Scottish stuff. Thanks for being on the podcast, and if you wait there, I'll let you know the kind of after stuff.
No worries.